Alright, guys, I'm gonna tell you something right now. A lot of you remember that Bruce Springsteen song, 57 Channels and Nothing On? Well, he ought to write a song about what's going on with Buffalo. 17 years, and nothing changes. 'Cause you know what? For the first time in a few years, I had gone up to Orchard Park this past Sunday. A nice little gig with my brother, who happens to be an old school Steeler fan. Heck, he's got the new school Steeler uniform, but he's still old school 'cause he's a Lambert lunatic. He's got number 58 and Lambert's name on his jersey. But you know who had the best time, even though I have to admit, even though it was the same old result, it was a good time, but he had the better time. But I'm starting to wonder, whenever Pittsburgh and Buffalo play up in Orchard Park, is it a Steeler home game? Heck, half the crowd seemed to be in favor of the black and gold, and you should have seen all the terrible towels that were waving in the air. But you know, 17 years and nothing changes, 'cause it seems as though not only can't the Bills beat Tom Brady, they can't beat Ben Roethlisberger. Heck, I don't think they've even beaten Pittsburgh while Roethlisberger's been their quarterback. And what's going on here? Earlier this year, they made J.A.J. look like Larry Zonka. And you know what? They made Le'Veon Bell look like Franco Harris came out of retirement, or Jerome Bettis or Willie Parker came out of retirement. What is going on here? Well, you know what? There's a lot of rumors now circling about what's going to happen with the Bills front office and also their head coaching. I think it's safe to say we've had enough of Rex Ryan's bluster. Yeah, you know, it was 2 years ago when they hired him, I thought, you're making a big mistake, Bills. You're making a big mistake. Hell, I thought he was like General John Pope when he was the coach of the New York Jets. Of course, people who don't know history know that John Pope was the commander of the Union Army at the Second Battle of Bull Run, and all he could do was talk and bluster, and none of his subordinates really supported him. Well, you know what? He said, my headquarters are in the saddle. And you know what? That's what I want to talk about with Rex Ryan, because his Pope's subordinate said, Pope doesn't know his headquarters from his hindquarters. That's what I want to say about Ryan. Seems as though he doesn't know his headquarters from his hindquarters. He supposedly is a defensive guru. What defense? Hell, he couldn't stop a matchstick from lighting a blaze. And I mean the same thing with his brother, who spends about half the game combing his long hair. You know what? It's safe to say both those Ryan brothers are out of a job when the season's over. And of course, the other question, what about Tyrod Taylor? 2 years, and it seems as though it's the same old habits. Very indecisive when he gets back there to pass. Always has happy feet. Takes off a little too early. You know what? It seems as though he doesn't know where to pass or whether to run half the time. Half the time he wants to take off and run when he wants to let his guys get open. Of course, the offensive line has a lot to do with it, but it seems as though because there's that stipulation in his contract that, you know what, he hasn't shown a darn thing. It's time to cut him loose. And I'm kind of throwing out a couple of names for next year. Maybe Tony Romo coming here to Orchard Park from Dallas, or maybe, just maybe, Jim Kelly's nephew, Chad Kelly. Even though he tore his ACL there playing for Mississippi, he showed he's a pretty darn good quarterback. You know what? Bring Chad Kelly to Orchard Park. Of course, people are wondering about Cardell Jones. You know what? Buffalo should stick him in Let us see what this kid is made of. Hell, he's built like a tank. I mean, he's like 6'4", 6'5", 250 pounds. Let Cardell Jones show what he's made of. But I do want to say one thing about the ground crew. What's going on there? During half, you dug up all those pebbles off of the New Era Field turf. What'd you do? Remove snow or want to dig up the turf? 'Cause you wanted to get the hell out of town. Well, you know what? You delayed the game pretty good. All in all, I have to say it was an enjoyable experience, even if I did wear 4 layers of clothing and froze my tuchus off. But you know what? My brother and I had a good time, but he had the better time. Hell, yesterday was his 56th birthday. So, if you see Andy, wish him a happy belated birthday, shall we? Well, enough is enough ranting. You know what? But Syracuse plays their old friends this Saturday in the Dome. It's Georgetown who comes to the Dome, and you know what that means, Cuse fans. You know, it's party time. How about a nice orange out in the Dome this Saturday? Well, of course, this is a special orange game, because we honor the player who arguably turned Syracuse into the next level. I mean, he did turn it into the next level. But I should say, arguably, he's the greatest player to ever wear the orange uniform. The orange honor Dwayne the Pearl Washington at this week's Georgetown game. As I will tell you what, when he came from New York City up here to the Carrier Dome floor, he changed everything for Syracuse basketball. He was magic dribbling down court, and I still see that megawatt smile on his face whenever the fans cheered him when he came down the court. Plus also, who remembers the shot, Syracuse style? You have to put that in parentheses because there's a whole lot of things with the shot. But you know what? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Who would want to launch it from half court, make it, and then run down the tunnel so he doesn't get mauled? Oh, hell. Dwayne the Pearl Washington, my hat's off to you, partner. Rest in peace. You're going to get your due this Saturday, and hopefully Syracuse can continue winning after a pretty darn gritty win against Boston University this past Saturday. Hell, we needed to get back on the winning track. And we also need to get some recruits. As hell, seems as though we can't get a point guard to save our life. We've got O'Shea Brissett, and we've got Barama Sidibe. Maybe we can get the number 1 center in the country, Mohamed Bamba. But we need a point guard. Come on, Syracuse, get on the recruiting trail. But I digress. That's for another day. Well, good luck, Syracuse, against Georgetown. But I do want to close by saying one thing. Local law number 3 passed this past week by a vote of 4-1, with Lazaro being the abstaining vote. Of course, that means in 10 years, Seneca Meadows closes. And of course, when the vote was taken, there was a little cheer from the peanut gallery. But I just kind of wonder what's going to happen to property taxes and everything when Seneca Meadows closes. Because that did send a lot of money to help keep property taxes down and keep everything going here in this town. I gotta wonder, where are they going to make up the revenue? Of course, when Del Lago opens, it'll kind of help. But they got to figure out a way to keep the property taxes down, because the taxes would skyrocket if they can't find other forms to, help fill the coffers here for the town of Seneca Falls. And you know what that's going to mean? It's going to mean almost like the biblical book, a mass exodus, because people aren't going to be able to afford the property taxes. Well, we got to figure out some way. But the people who don't like it, no more odors. Yeah, well, they're working on it. But I'm kind of worried. We'll see what happens. Well, that's all the ranting and raving I got for this edition of Kenny's Two Pennies. See you next week, and hopefully it'll be a win for the Cuse against Georgetown.